Okay, it's working. Good. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie with Rocky Mountain Lodge, and this is my oldest granddaughter, Alyssa. Thank you for bearing with us while we got a little bit of a late start. We were having some technical difficulties with our Wi-Fi, and it just kept dumping us. So hopefully this will last the whole episode today, and it won't fail us. So we are making some raspberry ribbon cheesecake today in preparation for Easter. So excited. I have been making this recipe since my kids were little, and now it's Alyssa's mom's favorite recipe, or cheesecake recipe, and she makes it for Easter every year. I think more often than Easter too, pretty much every holiday. And I want to let you know that I have a special videographer today. I have my 10-year-old granddaughter, Abby, filming today. My hubby's not available, nor is my other neighbor, Katie. So I've got, and Alyssa can't film because she's helping me out today. So I've got Abby helping me out today. She'll be helping me doing a cooking show here in the next couple of weeks, and you'll get to meet her. So right now we're going to get started on this recipe. You can find this recipe online at our website at rockymountainlodge.com and click on our recipe tab. You can also find it in our cookbook, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabin's More Favorite Recipes, which you can purchase at the gift shop on our website, rockymountainlodge.com. And we are running a half-off special right now. And so if you go to the gift shop and you add the cookbook to your cart, make sure to add the cookbook promotion to your cart as well, and you'll get this for half price. And we'll talk about that later again. All right, so we're going to get right to this episode. And so I'm going to show you a couple of tips about making cheesecakes as we go along. So Alyssa's going to start here by making our raspberry filling, because we have to cook it and then let it cool for just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some raspberries. Now this is a 12-ounce package of frozen raspberries, which I have thawed, or you can use 2½ cups of fresh raspberries. And so we're going to go ahead and open this up. You want to open that up, Alyssa? You need scissors. And dump it in the blender. And so we're going to blend these up until they are 1 cup. There's a trash can right next to you. All right. Okay, so now go ahead and put the lid on there, and we're going to blend these raspberries up. Yep, that's good. I don't think you've ever used my blender. And so you just flip this up to start. And we're going to blend those until they are smooth. Now there are seeds in there. We don't worry about them. You can strain them out if you want. You can strain the seeds out if you want, but they don't bother us, and so I just leave them in. Otherwise, at this point, what you want to do is you want to blend your raspberries till they reach 1 cup. I do have a measuring cup lines on here, and this is just over a cup. And so what we're going to do, set that aside for a second. And now, let's move this here for a moment. Alyssa's going to take our sugar. We are going to put, how much sugar do we have in this sauce? 2/3 of a cup of sugar. She's going to put in the little pot there. And then 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. She's going to add that into there. And she's going to mix those up together with either spatula. And I'm going to pull this blender aside. We're done with this. And then I'm going to replace it with our our burners here, so that Alyssa can cook this right here in front of you. All right, so now she's got that mixed up. So right here she has, set that aside, the sugar and cornstarch mixed together. The reason why you want to mix these together first is because the cornstarch could clump if we don't. So now go ahead and add the raspberries to that. Get this out of the way. And then there's a long spatula that you can use to scrape all of that in there. And while Alyssa is doing that, I am going to start working on the crust. But before I start making the crust, I want to tell you a couple of things about preparing your cheesecake pan. So we are going to cook our cheesecake in a water bath. This is a 10-inch cheesecake pan. And so pretty deep. Now this one has a little lip around the outside edge. That kind of catches any of the little oils that might drip out from your crust. The butter, if it leaks out. But what I like to always do with my pans, let me move some of these ingredients aside so you can see what I'm doing here, is I like to line this with some parchment paper. So that way when it's done, I can take it off of here and put it on a serving platter and not have to cut directly on this plate here. So now mix this all together, Alyssa. And now you're going to put it on the hot pad. And we are going to cook that until it's hot and bubbly. Let me turn this up a bit. And you kind of have to stir it pretty frequently. So Alyssa's going to work on stirring this sauce. I don't like to waste any of this stuff. They're too yummy to go to waste. So let me grab a pair of scissors here. And what I like to do here, as I talked about, is we are going to cut our parchment paper just a little bit bigger than our tray. Here, set that aside. And then we will put the top on here just like this. And close it. This is a spring-form pan. In case you don't have one of these, you do have to have a spring-form pan to make cheesecake. There we go, we tighten it up. And so now you can see that the bottom has this parchment paper on it, so it's going to make it easy to get off later on. And so Alyssa's just going to work away on stirring that sauce until it gets thickened. And if we need to turn it up a little bit, we can. All right, so I just like to cut the edges off of this so that it fits a little, doesn't make such a big mess. I just kind of go around here. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get some of the excess off. They do make pre-cut circular discs that you can buy. I just don't happen to have any of the right size for this particular one. So I just make my own. Doesn't take too much effort. All these little things will help down the road though. All right, so that's all done. And now, because we're going to be cooking our cheesecake in a water bath, which is another thing that's kind of important to know about cooking cheesecakes, it helps them to cook more evenly and prevents them from cooking around the outside and becoming too hot on the outside and gooey on the inside. So because we're going to cook it in a water bath, I'm reusing these sheets that I used yesterday to make the same cheesecake. I just take foil. I'm going to triple line this with foil. And this helps the water not get into the actual cheesecake pan. So I'm going to line it 3 times with foil. And like I said, I'm cheating by using ones that I used yesterday. Waste not, want not, right? That's what my mom always used to say. So does your mom make any other kind of cheesecake besides this raspberry one?
Usually not. I mean,
this is one that she makes all the time. It's because it's her favorite, right?
All the time, as in Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter.
Which, am I bringing the Easter dessert this Easter?
Probably.
I'll probably have to talk to Mom about that. But we make several cheesecakes for holidays. What?
And the lamb cake.
Oh, yeah. Easter, I make this carrot cake lamb cake. It's a carrot cake that's shaped in a lamb mold pan. And then I decorate it with cream cheese. I frost it with cream cheese frosting and put coconut on it. And so it looks like it has furry wool on the outside. All right, so here's our cheesecake pan all ready. I just triple coated it in the foil, and that's going to keep water from getting into it when we do our water bath. And I'll set this aside for the moment. All right, so how's that looking? Is it starting to thicken at all? Oh, it's bubbling up. That's good. So let me know when it gets thickened. So while she's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and make the crust. Good job, Abby. Okay, so for our crust, I have 6 tablespoons of butter that I have melted here. And then I have 2 cups of chocolate graham crackers. Yes, you can get chocolate graham crackers. Sometimes they're hard to find, but I hunt them down, and I usually buy 3 or 4 boxes when I can find them. So I have them here. And then 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And so this is what's going to be in our crust. I'll grab a spoon here. So we're going to stir this together. We do not have to cook this ahead of time. That's the nice thing about this one. Those are done. Okay, so I'm just going to mix these up and then we're going to put them in the pan. I do have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. We're not going to cook the cheesecake at that temperature. We're going to cook it at 325 degrees. But I preheat the oven to 375 degrees because that gives me a little wiggle room to put the cheesecake in there and pour the water bath over it. All right, and so this is all mixed up and ready to go. So you can see how this is. It just kind of makes crumbs. These are also really great to put in dirt cake if you're making dirt cake, although we usually do chocolate Oreos for dirt cake. I'll have to make that sometime with my little grandkids during the summertime. They love having that over the holidays.
Yeah, we make that at Easter too.
You make that at Easter too?
No, you
I make that at Easter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great dessert for little kids that might not like all the fancy adult desserts. I tend to go a little overboard on holidays when it's time for dessert.
A little? How is a little 25 desserts or more?
I don't make that many. I think the most I've made is 15 desserts.
25.
I'm not.
Here we go. I think it's definitely bubbling a lot.
It's bubbling a lot. Okay, so let's turn it down.
Oh, I turned it down.
Okay, but we want it to get nice and thick. Is it thick? Let's see. Let me feel it. Okay, so no, I think we want it to go, let's turn it down to low, and we want it to let it go a little bit more until it's a little thicker. All right. She's doing a great job on that. And so here is our crust ingredients here. So I'll show you a little tip. Instead of having to get your hands all dirty when we're doing this, I just take a jar and I will go around the edges and just kind of press this along the edges. Come on now. Don't make a liar out of me. I just did one of these yesterday and it came out perfect. Now today, okay, maybe I just have to, I hope I didn't put too many crumbs in here. If you have too many crumbs, it might not, the butter might not want to mix well. But I was pretty sure I had the mixture measured correctly. So I just go around the outside and take a glass and press it along the edges. Come here. Come on, you. Cooperate. All right, and then we're just going to pat down the bottom. This one looks like I may not have measured 2 cups of graham crackers exactly right. And I probably just needed a little bit more butter. It'll actually be okay because the butter will melt when it's baking in the oven. And it will work just fine later on down the road. So not to worry. It's going to come out just fine and dandy. All right, so we have that all done. And our hands are still clean. All right, so there's our crust. Now I'm going to set this in the refrigerator while we're making the filling. Okay. We're going to do a little switcheroo. That one in, another one out for later. Let me wipe down that little spill we got there. All right, so that looks like it's great. Alyssa, you can take that off the heat. Okay, so just set it here. So now what we want to do with this, you can see that this is thickened up. Stir it a little bit and show them how thick that is, and pick the spoon up and let it, see how nice that is? That thickened up nicely. So now what we want to do is we want to take out, we want to pull out, let me see how much we need to pull out. Get a spoon here. For our sauce, all right, we need, okay, I should probably, I know that we need, I forgot to write that down, my measurements. So now I have to look it up. Raspberry cheesecake, okay. Page over. I just forgot to write down how much is for the cheesecake and how much is for the sauce, the topping. Alrighty. So when we're doing our sauce, okay, 3/4 of sauce. Okay. All right, so we want 3/4 of sauce in here. So Alyssa, can you pour? Here is a 3/4 mark. So you want to pour in 3/4 of sauce. 3/4 of a cup. That's what we're going to use for the cheesecake. The rest of it we're going to set aside and save for the topping. All right. So while she's doing that, measuring that up, because we're just going to set it aside anyways. So we'll have 3/4 in here, and then the rest we're going to, typically I would put this in a little container and save it for the topping. Look good? What do you think? 3/4? Perfect.
Yep, 3/4.
All right, so this we'll set aside. You can leave that. We'll just set that right there for
Perfect.
now. We'll set that aside. This is our set aside from yesterday. So voila, there's our set aside sauce. By the magic of
Nanny.
preparation. Okay, they call me Nanny. I love it. Okay, so now for our cheesecake. In here, we have 3 8-ounce packages of softened cream cheese. One thing that's very important when you're baking is that all of your ingredients are at room temperature. So we have our cream cheese softened to room temperature. I have 2 egg whites that are softened to, that are not softened. They're at room temperature. I have 1 cup of heavy cream that we needed, and I pulled this out of the fridge just a couple of hours ago. You can also pop these things in the microwave for about 20-30 seconds too. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a 1/2 cup of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So this is everything we need for the cheesecake. This is your basic, just your basic cheesecake right here. And then we'll add the raspberries to jazz it up a bit. This is a special holiday. It's Easter. I like to make this for your mom's birthday too.
Oh, yes.
Yes, since it's her favorite. So, of all the cheesecakes I've made, what's your favorite? I do the strawberry champagne cheesecake.
One when we went to
The rum chata.
like havasu. It was like a
Chocolate turtle.
yeah, the chocolate
Chocolate turtle.
cheesecake.
That's Auntie Connie's favorite.
I really like that one.
Yep.
Probably just because I am a huge chocolate fan. So
So what we're doing here is we are just mixing up blending up our cream cheese here. Now that I just kind of got it started, we're going to add our sugar. Alyssa, do you want to pour that in there? Our cornstarch, and then the vanilla. So we're going to add all of these 3 ingredients together until they are well blended. Oh, you know what, Alyssa? Can you do me another favor?
yes.
Can you unplug this and just kind of push it up front there? And now we need to I need to get my hot water going for the hot water bath that the cheesecake is going to cook in. Cooking cheesecakes in a water bath will help them cook more evenly. I think we talked about that earlier. If you don't have a big enough pan, which I'll show you in a little bit, to put them in, just go ahead and put a tray of water underneath your cheesecake pan. And so that will allow steam to create in your oven. It's not quite as good as a water bath, but it's the next best thing. So you just got to work with what you got. All right, I didn't always have these nice big pans. So we're just going to blend these up until they're mixed well. And they're nice and smooth. I can't bring this over anymore. Good job, videographer. Can y'all say hi, Abby? And so you want to mix your cream cheese pretty well, but you don't want to make it so light and fluffy that there's lots of air in it, because that could cause it to rise too much and then fall. Okay, so let's see how this is doing. Okay, it's nice and smooth. So now we're going to add our egg whites. Alyssa, you want to add those egg whites? And now we're going to blend this up just until the egg whites are blended. We don't want to whip this too much because we don't want to have meringue. We don't want it to be light and fluffy. So we're just going to do this until the egg whites are blended.
You don't want to have scrambled eggs in your cheesecake.
No. A curdle, that would be good. That would be if we added something hot to it. But if you don't have your cream cheese thoroughly softened ahead of time, you will have little lumps in your cheesecake. So it's important to make sure your cheesecake, your cream cheese is nice and soft. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but Abby, look out the kitchen window. If you can show them, it's snowing out here. It has been snowing for the last 3 days straight. Actually, 4 days straight. Sunday. It started Sunday.
Me and Alyssa have actually been able to make a really good snow fort.
I need to come look at that snow fort. Okay,
So
this
some
is
of us are
done.
tired of the snow and are ready for summer.
Yes, that would be me included. I think in the last 2 weeks we probably had about 2 feet of snow total. So now we're going to add the cream. This is 1 cup of heavy cream. And this is all the ingredients for the cheesecake. So if you don't do the raspberries, you can just do this and just have a regular old-fashioned cheesecake. And if you don't use chocolate grahams, you can use regular vanilla graham crackers. You can use vanilla wafers. I've even, I like to use cinnamon graham crackers for my rum chata cheesecake for the crust. Makes it pretty darn good. All right, so I think we're done with all of these. So we're just going to get this mixed up, and then, will you hold this, Alyssa?
Of course.
Oh, you know what? I see two teaspoons of lemon juice. I forgot.
Nanny.
Oops. Okay.
I'm going to add this right there.
We're going back here. I forgot an ingredient. Okay, after we were done cooking this, so this is the correct time, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. Now we're going to mix it and then measure out 3/4 of a cup. Thanks, Alyssa. All right, so this is a big pan that I have that I like to use for my baking. All right, so now we can measure out that 3/4 of a cup. And now we're going to set our cheesecake pan. What did I do with it?
Where'd you put it?
Oh, it's in the refrigerator. Okay, before I go get that, I'm going to tell you, we're going to divide this in half. This is what our cream cheese filling looks like now. It's nice and smooth and creamy. And I will tell you also that the use of cornstarch in items like this make it more velvety. Okay, so we've got that.
Perfect.
Good job. Thank you. Set that aside. All right. See?
For real.
I'm glad we didn't
forget.
Okay, so I like to measure out my ingredients. Now, normally when I've been doing this cheesecake over the years, I just kind of eyeball it and put half in the bottom of the pan. Then I put the raspberry on it, and then I put the other half on top. But invariably, I might end up with like this much of a bottom and this much of a top. So I started weighing out my ingredients. It comes to approximately 2 cups. So I'll weigh it out in grams. I wrote it down in my cookbook, but I forgot here. I gotta look it up again.
It's over there.
I put it away. Okay, so it's
I think you should just keep the mic right over there.
Take what?
Keep the
Cookbook?
Open.
Yeah.
Keep it open. Yes, I probably should just keep it open to the page. I have a little cheat sheet right here that I write all of my little instructions down so I can see them better, but I forgot to write everything down. Silly me. So,
Well, you wrote most of it down.
cheesecake. Oh, that's cookie section.
Nanny,
Lots of good cookies in there. Yes?
you gotta get out of the cookie section.
Okay.
We're in cheesecakes.
Yes, okay. All right, so here it is. So, this total is, I like to weigh in grams. They're a little more accurate, but it's okay if you don't do it that way. This is 1,040 grams, approximately, give or take a few. And then we're going to divide it by 2, so it's going to be 520 grams. So, Alyssa, do you want to go ahead and scoop some in here until this reads 520?
Yep.
Which is approximately 2 cups. Okay,
520, is that what you said?
Yep, 520. Now, like I said, you don't have to be this precise. This is just me being that little crazy, picky person, right, Alyssa?
Yes.
When we had the bed and breakfast going, I was very particular about how everything was. Everything was done and the plating was done. We're getting close. Keep going. Get more. So it doesn't have, like I said, it doesn't have to be exact. You can just eyeball it. It's about 2 cups. So if you measure out 2 cups, you'll be good. That's going to be too much. Oh, no, you're good.
It's gonna be too
Almost.
much?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Still a little more. We got about 520 there.
It's about 521.
We need 502.
502?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. No, I did say 520.
I thought you said 520. I was like, I thought you said 520.
You know, I tell you what, getting old is not fun. So, so now I'm glad I have helpers around here to keep me on my toes. So now what we're going to do is, I have washed my hands. I like to just put this in dollops because, as you saw when we put in our crumbs, they're kind of crumbly. And so they might just kind of come all off into our cream cheese. And if that happens, it's really not a big deal. It's all going to be covered up. So, but I like to put dollops around here.
Nanny, with everything with you is a big deal. Everything has to be perfect.
Well, I do my best, but it's not always perfect. I think people that watch my videos know that.
I beg to differ.
Really well.
I beg to differ.
Go back and watch some videos. You see. Okay, so now we're just going to carefully spread this around. See what happens there with the little of the crumbs. No big deal. So this is about half of it. I tend to like to take my time and do this, but you can just plop it in. It really is fine. It's all going to taste the same at the end, right? Okay. It's all going to be delicious. So now, this is called a Raspberry Ribbon Cheesecake because there's going to be a ribbon in the middle of this raspberry sauce. So now, Alyssa, go ahead and drizzle it all around. Yep, that one. Drizzle it all around, and then we're going to carefully spread it over to the edges.
Like this around the edges, or just
Keep
like
going.
everywhere?
And it doesn't have to be all the way to the edges.
I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah. Okay, now you can take this little spatula here.
Use this one. It already has the raspberry stuff on it.
Okay. Alyssa got all dressed up for our video today.
I was excited.
I think this is the first cooking video you've done with me, right?
This is the first cooking video I've done with you.
She's cooks with me a lot, though.
Yes.
What's the favorite thing that we've made that you've done?
Reese's.
Oh, the Reese's peanut butter balls.
Mm-hmm. I am a Reese's fan. So.
Yes. Okay, and now we are going to...
Actually, it was between the Reese's and the Oreos. I don't know.
Oh, homemade Oreo cookies. That was good. What about those donuts that we did? Bavarian cream donuts?
They're all so good. It's hard to choose. You're giving me a hard question to ask.
Okay. Well, if you guys still have a favorite. But they were all good. But the Reese's so far at the top?
Probably.
Okay, so I'm just putting this not quite all the way to the edge because as we put the top over it, it might spread a little bit. Okay, so now this one, I tend to take a little bit more time putting smaller dollops on here. So that way, I'm not going to just kind of mix the raspberry topping with this. And
do you remember?
Go ahead.
Do you remember the time where it wasn't fully cooked and everything was seeping out?
Yes. Yes, I have had my failures.
Well,
I think that was the strawberry was that the strawberry one or was that the carrot cake cheese?
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was the
one.
I'm pretty sure it was the cheesecake.
This one?
This one, the raspberry?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, even she's making it fancy with her little dollops.
Well, we're gonna spread them all out. They won't look like dollops later on. I just am trying to make sure that I get all the raspberry covered. I know. Now, you don't have to be this particular. Mom is probably not this particular.
She has 9 kids. She can't be this particular.
Yes. My daughter has her hands full with 9 children, which I have 2 here right now. 2 of the bigger helpers, right? Okay. So we're almost here. So when I get done with this, Alyssa, I'll let you try to spread it out.
Okay.
No? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might not be as perfect as yours, but...
Well, how are you going to learn unless you try it, right?
So.
I did just wash my hands, I promise. Yep, I had to go over there after the first round and wash them again. There's a little dollop. I don't want to waste any of that. I know. Now, normally, if I wasn't on video right now, I would usually just... But... I have to be good. You want to try to spread that out?
I will try
just
my
gently
best.
spread it out. And I'll set this aside so you girls can flick this. Because I know you girls will probably want to do that. And I will wash my hands instead of licking my fingers.
To the edges, or is just fine like this?
Pardon?
To the edges?
Yep, to the edges. And we like to try to not get any of those crumbs, but sometimes it's unavoidable. But you're doing good.
With me,
it's okay.
Unavoidable.
It's okay. You're doing a good job. You just kind of turn your pan. It's all right because you know what? When we take this out of the oven and it cools, I'm going to show you later, it's going to be covered with raspberries. So it's all good. Okay.
That's good. Or is it?
Yes, it's great, Alyssa. Good job.
And then she's going to go in there, make it better.
Just a tiny bit. Just a teensy bit. Okay.
Do that later.
Okay. All right, so now, as I was telling you how we prep our pans, so we've got this all ready. So I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to walk over to the oven, and I'm going to put this in the oven, and yeah, Abby, you can come over with us. I'm sorry, my kitchen is not the cleanest right now.
Cleaner than ours? Well, maybe.
Okay, so we are going to set this in the oven. And the reason, this is why I preheat it to 50 degrees hotter in the water.
Of course.
Hold it on the bottom because that might be less hot.
Right down here?
Yes.
Oh, that's weird.
So this is my favorite tea kettle that I like to use. And so now I'm just going to pour this water in here. So we want about at least an inch of water on the bottom. I don't know if you can get up there and see that. Can you see that? So we're just going to pour the water in there. And now we're going to close it up. And this is why I preheated it to 375 degrees. We need it at 325 degrees. So this is going to tell you how much our oven cooled off. It cooled off right to 325. So now it's starting right at the temperature it needs to be. So now if we come back over here, we are going to eat some cheesecake. Alyssa, can you go in the refrigerator and then open up the left side, and in the drawer are raspberries. So this is what the cheesecake looks like when it's done. It's going to bake for 75 minutes. After 75 minutes, you're going to leave the cheesecake in the oven just as it is, and you're going to crack your door open and let it stay in there for another 30 minutes. And it's going to continue to cook a little bit more as the heat decreases. And then you're going to take it out of the water, and you can take the foil off, and the cheesecake should look something like this. And so then we open this up, open up our springform pan, and here's our cheesecake. And now I was telling you about the parchment, and so like if you wanted to put this on a pretty serving tray, you can take this off of your pan carefully. And then you should be able to get a spoon, I mean not a spoon, but a big old spatula, and just peel your paper back and set this right on your serving platter. And then it's ready to serve on a pretty platter. So that's why I like to use the parchment paper. So this has been cooled. I let this come to room temperature after those extra 30 minutes in the oven. It came to room temperature. And then I covered it up and put it in the refrigerator to chill for overnight. And then the rest of today. Now typically you can serve your cheesecake either warm or cold. And there's a couple of different ways to do this sauce and our raspberries. So we have the extra sauce that we reserved from, we used 3/4, and this is the extra. Now you can add a couple of tablespoons of raspberry liqueur, which is some chambord. That's what I like to use. Now, if you don't want liqueur, you can use orange juice. That works just as well. So I've always made mine with chambord. Mommy probably does orange juice because she probably doesn't have chambord unless she borrows it from me.
And we probably don't have orange juice.
So I just put 2 tablespoons of chambord in here. It gives it a little bit extra raspberry flavor. It's really not going to do much. I even do let the kids have this sauce because it's so minuscule, the amount that they're going to get. They're going to get about a teaspoon. You have about less than a tablespoon per serving of this whole sauce. So they're really only getting about 1/4 teaspoon. So it's not much. Nothing that's gonna harm the little ones. But if you don't want that, just substitute it with orange juice. Now you can either cover your whole thing with this sauce and then top it with fresh raspberries, which the picture on my website is like that. So if I'm serving this at Christmas time or Easter for holidays, that's how I'll serve it. But since I'm not serving this whole thing right now, I am going to get a knife. And we are just going to do 1 slice at a time so that you can see what the presentation is like. But I definitely want to cut into this so that you can see what, let me go across so that way I can eyeball it a little better. You can see a little raspberry there. So I kind of like to score it a little bit so that I can get my slices cut. This will make like 12 servings. I just kind of eyeball it. So here's a serving. And I'm going to pull this out so that way we can see that ribbon in the middle. I cut right through the parchment. There's that ribbon in the middle. So you can see what that looks like. And you can see it on the cheesecake here. And so then for presentation, okay, wash my hands again. I got them goofy. Okay. And this apron, I have to tell you, since I'm an apronaholic, her mama and her family got me this apron for Christmas. I'm very much in love with it. Christmas or my birthday, one or the other. I can't remember.
I think
they're very close together. They're only a few weeks apart. So, so then we are going to just drizzle a little bit of this sauce on the top and let it kind of come over a little bit, drizzle over. Okay, you can see how that's drizzled over. And then we are going to add some fresh raspberries to the top. And there is our Raspberry Ribbon Cheesecake. Perfect for Easter. It doesn't take too much effort to make. Takes longer to cook than anything and then to cool, but it's a pretty fancy dessert. Now, if you don't like raspberries, you can change this up with strawberries. You can change this up with strawberries or blueberries or blackberries, anything that you might like, whatever kind of fruit you might like. Just follow the exact same recipes and just substitute it out, and it's easy to change out. And not too long, let's see. Thanks for hanging in there while we were a little bit late showing up. And I'll remind you one more time that you can find this recipe in our cookbook, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabin's More Favorite Recipes. And this is on our website at rockymountainlodge.com. Click on the recipes tab to find the recipe. Click on the gift shop tab to find the cookbook. There is a half-off promo right now, so make sure to add that promo code to your cart as well to get it for half price. And Abby, thank you. She's doing great for 10, isn't she? I think she's doing fantastic. Thanks, Abby, for filling in at the last moment. So come back next week. I did a little poll to find out what recipes y'all want me to make for my last Easter video. And you all have decided on sourdough rolls. So next week we're going to make homemade sourdough rolls. And hopefully your sister, Annie, will be here to help me out next week. So come back next week. We'll make homemade sourdough rolls. Don't worry about all you people that wanted sides or breakfast dishes. We'll do those in upcoming weeks, okay? So thanks for tuning in, guys. Enjoy the cheesecake, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.